Hello again, it's Raf, your office mate, back to share some more experiences regarding my fish keeping and aquascaping thus far with you. In today's video, I wanted to talk about the different styles of aquascaping I have used in the past and what I think about them in general. I will be talking about both what I liked and disliked about each style, and please know that there are different types of aquascaping out there, but these three are the ones that I have used in the past. The very first aquascaping style that I wanted to talk about is the moss style. In my opinion, this is the simplest and most inexpensive style of aquascaping one can utilize and yet still produce aesthetically stunning aquascapes. Uh, this is the very first method I have utilized since moving out on my own and on a strict budget, which I have talked about on a previous video. Since aquatic moss, such as Java moss, only requires the most basic aquarium setup in order to fully grow and cover the tank, you can use any kind of hardscape you can find outside on which you can super glue your moss on. Since moss is the only plant species in the tank, there's no need to worry about moss clippings inadvertently uh, growing out of place because any place is a good place for it to start growing. Um, However, moss will require frequent trimmings because only the outermost portions of the moss growth will receive light. The outermost layer, when it grows too densely, will prevent the innermost layer from receiving light, which will eventually cause it to turn brown and die. However, this is a great style for beginner aquascapers to use when they are first starting out. The next style I wanted to talk about is the nature style aquascape. In essence, the main goal of the nature style aquascape is to replicate aquatic environments that exist in nature and bring them indoors into an aquarium. This style is one of the most common, if not the most common theme that most fish keepers try to create right from the very beginning. This style tries to replicate these conditions as close as it could using hardscape features like driftwood and different types of rocks. It also uses different types of plants and houses a plethora of different fish species within the aquarium. This style produces visually stunning recreations of certain aquatic locations, which allow the viewer of the aquascape to immerse themselves into what it would be like to observe fish in their natural habitat. In my experience, while already factoring in the initial costs of the equipment I needed in order to maintain this style of aquascaping, additional costs for rocks and driftwood quickly depleted my allotted budget for this design. Driftwood and rocks don't have high resale value. So once they've been used, the prices for reselling them just drop. However, once I have paid the initial costs, they were mine to keep. They are also much easier to store, and this design requires frequent maintenance as it uses both slow and fast growing plants to recreate specific environments. So as long as you have good fish tank husbandry and you are keeping your plant growth in check, then you can easily maintain the desired natural aquascape look. The third style is the Iwagumi style aquascape. Now, in contrast, the Iwagumi style of aquascaping was not meant to simulate an already existing biotope in nature inside a glass box in one's home. The mentality behind this design is mostly based on a minimalist design that features sizable, high quality rocks, visually opposed by a sea of one or two types of slow growing carpeting plants and several individual fish of one species. This style also reflects the Japanese culture and its adherence to simplistic beauty. In my experience, this style of aquascaping is the most relaxing of all the styles I have used because of its simplicity. I didn't feel the urge to trim something or adjust something. Once it was set up, I only needed to watch it and maintain it here and there. However, the initial cost of setting up with this style was the most expensive as well, in my experience, because the amount of rocks I had to uh, use. At the time, I didn't know that you can find certain rocks that are used in aquascaping from gardening centers and hardware stores as well. So all of my rocks were purchased from a pet store, which charges a premium for their hardscape. Unlike driftwood, that normally comes at a set price, therefore giving you a better idea of how much you need to allocate for your aquascaping budget. Rocks can be configured and piled together in more ways than driftwood. Since they are priced by weight, you can easily exceed your allotted budget as you pursue your uh, goal design. So just something to keep in mind when selecting this style of aquascaping. Now, there is a bit of an exception that I would like to add with regards to my own current aquascape right now. If you've seen my latest videos, you will see that there is a couple of pieces of dragonstone right in the center of my aquascape. Now, despite the fact that I have dragonstones, a couple of pieces of dragonstones in the aquarium, these are not the prominent feature. Unlike the Iwagumi style, this is not where the focus of the aquarium is. The focus is on the plants. Now, you might be wondering, Raf, why do you have dragonstone in your tank then? Um, I will make sure to include a video of this on this uh, discussion. But the main reason why the Dragonstone is there is because I am allowing um, Sturgeon repens to propagate itself on the Dragonstone. So it's in a way a type of freshwater live rock. Normally, Sturgeon repens grows on substrate, but in this situation here, because my water is nutrient rich, it's able to grow on the lava rock. So I'm just allowing it to fully cover that rock. It's a slow process, but it's getting there. In essence, turning it into a freshwater live rock. This started out as an experiment, but it's actually turning out to be a very beautiful centerpiece here. But after a while, this rock is going to be fully covered with Sturgeon repens, so it's going to be the rock itself is going to be invisible, and it's just going to be a cluster of Sturgeon repens that are uh, in a cluster shape. So in a way, it's still sticking true to the Dutch style aquascape when it's fully covered. Style number four would be Dutch style aquascaping. This is my current and favorite style. It focuses on creating vivid replicas of ecosystems, lush with plants by only using plants. The style achieves this by allowing lush clusters of different species of plants to grow and fill the tank completely without using rocks or driftwood because it just fills in every gap possible with plant growth. This style, in my opinion, has a significant initial cost because you are purchasing several units of different species of plants. Depending on where you purchase your plants or the individual price point of each unit, you can quickly deplete your allotted budget. However, since you are using plants as your main aquascaping feature, once these plants grow to the surface and are trimmed, you have a variable stock of different plants that you can sell to other aquarists. It has the added bonus of keeping the aquarist excited for the next trimming session instead of viewing it as an upcoming chore. They would just look at it as the harvesting season for plant trimming so that they can sell it to help offset the cost of the hobby. Personally, the style of uh, Dutch aquascape, uh, in my opinion, has allowed me to further grow my hobby because it has helped in offsetting the cost. Whenever I needed new equipment, I would just trim some plants, sell that off, and that would normally pay for the equipment fully or a good chunk of that. So this is my favorite style of aquascaping because of that. The last style I wanted to discuss with you is the jungle style of aquascaping. This was my very first successful non-moss planted tank. It utilized mostly Hygrophila deformis, which was allowed to overrun the tank itself. The only trimming I would really do is when the top parts of the plant reached the water surface. The same can be said about this style as I discussed with the moss style aquascaping method, because it used Hygrophila deformis, which is a fast growing, low maintenance plant. The only difference is that this plant grew all the way to the surface of the tank, which created a lush jungle appearance. Um, there's definitely other plants that you can use to achieve a lush jungle appearance, but in my experience, I used Hygrophila deformis. This is an incredible transition point for any new aquascaper who has tried moss style before, but want to try something slightly more challenging. I say this because Hygrophila deformis, in my experience, once it reaches lengths that touch the surface of the water, liquid fertilizing is now required. When I failed to use liquid fertilizers, I noticed pinholes developing in the plant leaves. However, I have noticed that this only becomes necessary when the plant is fully occupying the entire tank from substrate to surface. In conclusion, I hope this provides you with useful information when it comes to selecting the style of aquascaping that fits both your budget and your preferences. If you like this video, please hit that like button and follow me on Instagram. I also have a YouTube channel also named Offish Space. So that's OFISH_SPACE. I hope you have a good day and see you next time at the Offish.